Tonight, Victoria's 000 crisis. Lives lost as emergency calls are put on hold. Daniel Andrews fined twice for breaking his own COVID rule. Primary school children as young as 9 ordered to wear masks in the classroom. Cash help for Victorians wanting to buy their own home. But there's a catch. New China tension as former Prime Minister Tony Abbott issues a worrying warning from Taiwan. And Carlton's close shave as the Blues rally around a favourite son.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. Victoria's health system is in crisis tonight, with the 000 call system buckling under the pressure of record COVID case numbers. Tragically, at least 2 people died while on hold for emergency help. The Army has been called in to back up exhausted paramedics. Jade Vincent begins our coverage.
Triage tents outside hospitals, ambulances ramped and emergency calls going unanswered. This is our health system before we've even reached our COVID peak.
Yes, it is fair to say that we are in crisis. 2
people suffering cardiac arrest died this week, left waiting 5 minutes before a 000 operator picked up.
Our members who work there, they are breaking down on shift. They are really doing it tough. The failure has been at the top.
This is not at the time to be asking a CEO to resign. We're in a battle right now.
Hoppers Crossing father Hamoudi says no one was on the other end of the line for more than 2 minutes while his 6-month-old baby needed urgent help.
His face was going blue. He was choking and couldn't breathe. My reaction is I'm going to lose my son. That's what I thought.
Victorians have also reported distressing delays of up to 33 minutes. The state's emergency call centre says it's fielding a record 3,000 calls for ambulances a day.
We want to answer 90% of our 000 calls within 5 seconds. But right at the moment, we're not able to meet that simply because of the volume of calls.
Calls fuelled by a pandemic record day for Australia. 1,838 new COVID cases in Victoria. Paramedics are transporting 200 people a day with COVID. They expect that number will be 300 next week, so the Army is coming to help. One ambulance officer will be teamed up with either a soldier, St John ambulance officer, SES volunteer or student paramedic to attend non-critical cases.
It's got to a point now where those are getting to a level, particularly with our staff fatigue, that we need to activate these new surge plans.
The state government has also launched an urgent inquiry with former top cop Graham Ashton to head up a review of the 000 capability. The Treasurer hitting back at critics arguing our system was ill-prepared.
You could never have resourced in a pre-pandemic environment to the level of resource that we require now.
There were 5 more COVID-related deaths recorded today.
We are not at the peak in terms of the numbers of people who will die. Because there is a lag of 3 to 4 weeks from your peaking case numbers.
There are now more than 16,000 active cases in Victoria, and our Delta surge is being mirrored in hospital wards across the state. 2 weeks ago, 297 Victorians were in hospital, 66 in ICU and 46 on ventilators. Tonight, more than 600 are in hospital, 114 in ICU and 76 on a ventilator. 92% of COVID patients in hospital aren't fully vaccinated.
So obviously the system's under unprecedented pressure. It will continue to be under increasing pressure over the coming weeks. I want to reassure the community we're prepared for this, we've planned for it, this is part of what we do as an ambulance service, as the whole system has.
And Jade Vincent joins us now. Jade, there are plans to recruit extra call centre staff from interstate.
Yes, Mitch, it takes 6 months to fully train a 000 call taker, but Esther needs staff now. So they've made this request for additional support from interstate and may even call on the Defence Force as well. But they're asking for the public's help to free up those phone lines. They're getting a lot of calls from people seeking COVID advice who should really be going to the COVID hotline. And they're telling everyone else if it's not an emergency that's genuine, they need to call their GP or the nurse on call first, Mitch.
Jade Vincent at the Royal Melbourne Hospital, thank you. Police have fined Daniel Andrews for breaking his own mask rules. The Premier was hit with 2 fines on the same day his government ordered school children as young as 9 to wear masks in classrooms.
These near-identical 50-metre walks from car to Parliament 2 days in a row cost Daniel Andrews $400. He was wearing a mask in his car, but taking it off too early got plenty of attention.
The Victoria Police have launched an investigation. Looks like he's been approaching a camera for the purposes of doing a piece to camera.
For which masks can be taken off.
Wear your mask whenever you're outside your house.
The Premier tells 7 News he's already paid the 2 $200 fines with his own money, saying oversights matter. Everyone needs to follow the rules, and I'm sorry it occurred.
We've all done momentarily forgetting a mask. I mean, I've got out of the car and forgot to put it on, but he's walked some distance.
And this is just outside Parliament House.
Yep.
Being that he's a public figure probably doesn't look the best. I think silly and maybe just a lapse in judgment.
Has he done the wrong thing?
Yes, I mean, you have to wear masks outdoors. That's the rules, unless you have an exemption.
Daniel Andrews joins Barnaby Joyce and Tony Abbott, also fined for no mask in public. Most school students will soon need them too. Kids in years 3 to 6 must wear masks in class when it resumes later this month.
It is backed by good science, it is simple, it is safe.
Masks won't be needed outside school buildings.
In many states in America, school mask mandates have been put in place and they've helped to reduce transmission.
But masks for children in prep to year 2 are now strongly recommended.
How well they wear masks and how they fiddle with it, that will be somewhat of an issue. It's not an unreasonable measure, particularly if it can get them back to school with the other kids.
Blake Johnson joins us now. And Blake, there's another mask rule change tonight.
Yeah, this one's for the picnic fans, Pete. As of tomorrow, it'll no longer be illegal to consume one with taking off your mask at a picnic. That is after a Richmond power hopping exercise got a little out of hand a couple of months ago. Brett Sutton says that despite the big number of cases again today, we are still on track to end lockdown this month. He thinks we might actually get there early, but wouldn't say exactly how early. A data tracking website has us reaching that important 70% double dose date on October 24th, and that would be 2 days early. Pete?
Blake Johnson at Richmond, thank you. Mildura will go into lockdown for 7 days from midnight tonight. 3 more infections were detected in the area this afternoon, on top of 9 other active cases. Their restrictions now will fall into line with the rules in Melbourne. Meanwhile, Shepparton and the Moorabool Shire will emerge from their lockdown later tonight. Thousands of Victorians are being offered $200,000 to help them buy into the booming real estate market. The state government scheme will pay for up to a quarter of the cost of the home, but it gets to keep a share of the property.
Buying a home is out of reach for many Victorians. From today, there's financial help with a catch.
Certainly, we are not becoming a banker, and I want to stress that point. We're taking an equity share.
The Victorian Home Buyer Fund works like this. Participants need a 5% deposit, and the government will pay 25% of the purchase price in exchange for a 25% share in the house. It's for homes worth under $950,000 in Melbourne and Geelong, and under $600,000 for the rest of regional Victoria.
We take out our share of that equity at the point either of sale or at the point that the homeowner actually decides that they want the state to depart, so they buy us out in effect.
You don't have to be a first home buyer, but you can't currently own a home. And there are income thresholds. You have to earn under $125,000 or $200,000 for a couple and live in the property. The government expects to help 3,000 Victorians. The Property Council says it does nothing to fix the housing affordability crisis.
Unfortunately, what it doesn't do is address those structural issues around housing affordability, like too much red tape and planning regulation, incredibly high taxes and new taxes.
Part of the reason it's been so tough to buy a home in Melbourne is the lack of properties up for sale during lockdown. But that's starting to change now private inspections are back.
This weekend, there are 1,320 homes going to auction, a 64% rise on last week.
During August, we made over 400 sales sight unseen, which is a really, really large number.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
Victorian business leaders are demanding the lockdown roadmap be rewritten to match New South Wales. Retailers are leading the charge, saying they'll struggle to survive if they're limited to outdoor trading under the next stage of the existing plan.
Changes coming to retail restrictions won't help formal wear shop owner Jerry Aliakal.
There's no way I can operate trying to sell clothes outside.
When Victoria hits 70% double-dosed, Melbourne retail can operate outdoors.
I can't understand that you can have 300 people at a supermarket, but I can't have one person at a time.
It'll be the same at Tracy Cohen's lingerie store.
For me, I can't see that happening at all. It's underwear, so it's nothing I can really put out on the street.
You can't conduct business in a retail store like this in a major shopping centre like it's the Camberwell Market.
The opposition says customers should be allowed back in-store with density limits. It's happening Monday in New South Wales.
I can't quite understand what happens to the virus, whether or not it mutates when it crosses the Murray.
Our roadmap and New South Wales roadmap should align. There should be no reason why we have two different health advice orders here.
It will not be for everyone, but it is for each and every retailer to think about whether that's a feasible and reasonable option.
To take advantage of the change, which is likely to be triggered in about 2.5 weeks, some retailers are planning on getting creative. At this sports store, they will hand you your shoe boxes at the door, and then you can try them on at benches on the footpath.
I'm still thinking that they might let the customers come in. Yeah.
You've got some hope.
I've still got some hope.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Australia is facing new tension with China after Tony Abbott launched an extraordinary tirade from Taiwan. The former Prime Minister warned that Beijing could lash out disastrously.
He says he's in Taiwan as a private citizen. But China will consider Tony Abbott's very public views no laughing matter.
It is quite possible that Beijing could lash out disastrously quite soon.
And invade Taiwan. The challenge for the West, he says, to prevent the possible from becoming the probable.
Our challenge is to try to ensure that the unthinkable remains unlikely.
Billed in Taiwan as an historic visit, meeting the President and Foreign Minister, the former Prime Minister who led negotiations on a Chinese free trade deal rattles off a stream of accusations against Beijing.
It's put upwards of 1 million Uyghurs into concentration camps, brutalised Indian soldiers, weaponised trade, especially against Australia.
And that President Xi has turned China into
the cult of the Red Emperor.
Tony Abbott's comments in Taipei are correct. The alternative is we accommodate China, we bend the knee to Beijing, and that would be disastrous.
I can't speak for the government, although obviously I speak to the government.
And 7 News understands Prime Minister Scott Morrison will spend the weekend reconsidering whether he will now go to the G20 in Rome and the Glasgow Climate Conference in coming weeks. President Xi isn't expected at either, but France's Emmanuel Macron will be at both. Mark Riley, 7 News.
A woman has been killed and 3 others injured after a collision at Horsham. A cement truck smashed into the back of their SUV, which then hit a ute.
This is just an unfortunate incident that, like so many others, could have been avoided. We don't know what the actual circumstances are, but it looks like momentary distraction may have caused this incident.
The truck driver is currently assisting police. Tennis star Nick Kyrgios and his girlfriend have been involved in high drama in hotel quarantine. Police were called to their Adelaide hotel when the couple got in a heated argument. Nick's girlfriend, Chiara Passari, told 7 News she called hotel staff and police. The pair was moved into separate rooms, but the stoush continued on social media. They've already completed 7 days in the hotel. The next 7 will be spent apart. The Carlton Football Club is rallying around co-captain Sam Docherty as he faces the fight of his life. Players, staff and fans are lining up to shave their heads to send a touching message of support.
Chopping locks for Doc.
It looks good. In the dark.
Carlton stars in a powerful show of solidarity for their great mate, Sam Docherty.
He's very well loved amongst us boys and the club. He's gone through some tough times.
Here we go, the mullet. Are we going at the mullet? Straight up.
Patrick Cripps came up with the buzz cut idea, calling on all Blues players and even some fans to shave their heads in honour of Docherty, who's fighting his second bout of testicular cancer.
Docherty, long and straight.
We've got Grace. Get in here. Get in here. Have a look at the Grace. Have a look at the... He's 23. I don't mind it. I've been given a few compliments. I look a little bit meaner, apparently.
You got Grace too. Shut up.
You do.
All money raised will go to the Peter Mac Cancer Foundation.
I hope he's proud of us, and we're very proud of him.
To donate, just jump onto the Peter Mac website. Jacqueline Felgate, 7 News.
Great cause indeed. It's been a baptism of fire for the new Hawks coach. Tim Watson, Sam Mitchell is doing his best to put out a Jeff Kennett firestorm.
He is, Mitch. Kennett floated the idea that the club would trade out some of its biggest stars. Mitch Cleary has spoken exclusively with Hawthorn's coach. And Mitch, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Sam Mitchell has offered assurances he's not driving any players out, but did admit the Hawks will be open to phone calls about their contracted guns over the weekend as the deadline for the trade period nears. Tonight we'll hear from Brownlow medalist Tom Mitchell about his trade plans, plus the new coach Sam Mitchell about his plans and the response to Jeff Kennett after the president lit a fuse in an email to members last night. Tim?
Thanks, Mitch. There's also some big news at Geelong, and Aussies are dominating all over the world. I'll see you again soon, Mitch.
OK, Tim, thank you. Looking forward to that. The risk of home burglaries is on the rise as we emerge from lockdown. Next, the Melbourne suburbs, robbers are most likely to target. Also, 2 midwives slammed by a top health boss over a home birth tragedy. A police officer to fight charges over the Danny Laidley photo scandal. Strike action at Cadbury for the second time in weeks. And later, a pop superstar returns to the spotlight, firing up about her weight loss. A senior health official has slammed the care given to a Melbourne mother during a tragic home birth in Watsonia. 2 midwives are facing manslaughter charges over the death.
Professor Ewan Wallace is the Secretary of the Department of Health. He was also the Head of Obstetrics and Gynecology at Monash University. Today, he told a court the care 2 midwives gave Watsonia mum Caroline Lovell was grossly deficient in the hours before she died. It's just not competent and safe care. Gade Emmanuel and Melody Byrne have been charged with manslaughter. They assisted Ms Lovell as she delivered her second daughter in a water bath at home in 2012. Ms Lovell stayed in a birthing pool an hour after delivery, then fainted and later went into cardiac arrest. The fact that 30 minutes had passed, there had been evidence of bleeding in the water, the uterus was still high and not contracting, those are alarm bells. My view is that intervention should have happened by then, and it hadn't. The police informant is the final witness due to give evidence at the committal hearing. Today, defence lawyers requested he appear as soon as possible, as the women are anxious to hear their fate. They'll need to wait until December for the hearing to continue. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
A police officer accused of leaking a photo of former North Melbourne star Danny Laidley will fight the charges in court. Detective Senior Constable Murray Gentner is alleged to have distributed at least one photo of the transgender woman with an offensive comment. He'll face a 3-day hearing in February next year. Cadbury workers have gone on strike for the second time in 3 weeks. Almost 300 workers from the confectionery giant's Ringwood plant have walked off the job for 24 hours. The Manufacturing Workers Union is fighting for better pay and for long-term casuals to be given permanent contracts. Melburnians are being told to tighten home security because burglary risks will rise as we start to come out of lockdown. The warning came as new research identified northwestern and eastern suburbs as high-risk areas for break-ins.
So much time spent at home the past 18 months, it's feared Victorians are at risk of becoming complacent with security.
7 cars out of 10 will be stolen using their own keys. So this is where a criminal has just opened the door slightly at the front and maybe grabbed your handbag or your keys and then used it to steal your car.
Data shows the northwest is a high-risk zone. Suburbs including Rockbank, Bonnybrook and Thornhill Park have 1 in 45 homes broken into each year. In the east, Box Hill has 1 in 69 homes robbed, and further south, Heatherton has an average of 1 in 66 homes burgled. While the safest areas across our state are the city of Glen Ira, Boroondara and topping the list, Ballarat.
There's plenty of work we can still be doing around the home, regardless of the postcode you live in.
Neighbourhood Watch and the RACV have developed a new tool where Victorians can check how safe they are at home.
You've got to continue to be constantly vigilant. There's no more important asset than your home. And so anything we can be doing to preserve, secure and enhance that asset is really important.
To make your area even safer, Neighbourhood Watch recommends introducing yourself to your neighbours, exchanging contact details, creating a community group and properly securing your home.
They're really simple things and they don't have to cost any money at all.
Georgia Commons-Solly, 7 News.
Jane Bunn joins us now. Jane, what a marvellous way to end the week.
Mitch, we've had warmth and sunshine and that is set to continue tomorrow. We began the day on 7 and as low as 3 in the outer east, but it rapidly rose, reaching a top of 21. There's just a bit of wispy high cloud out there, letting lots of sun shine through. Outside now, it's still up on 20 degrees. An excellent evening for a sunset stroll. Tomorrow warms up even further and we are dry all day. I'll have the full weekend details after sport, Mitch.
Looking forward to that too. Thank you, Jane. Months after storms battered the Yarra Ranges, the clean-up has stalled. Next, locals pleading for help as fears rise ahead of the bushfire season. Also, who's first in line for COVID vaccine booster shots? The Queen's baton hits the road for the Commonwealth Games. And a global singing superstar makes a long-awaited comeback. Yarra Ranges Council says it's still struggling to deal with the ongoing clean-up from June's horror storms. It's begging the state government to find much-needed recovery work before fire season arrives.
It was the storm that shook the Yarra Ranges, toppling 25,000 trees and leaving 74 homes flattened. But 4 months on, Yarra Ranges Council feels forgotten.
It's the first time ever that we've had a pandemic and then a natural disaster on top of it.
The clean-up will cost $65 million and will take 2 years. Council says the state government has only provided $3.5 million so far.
Doing the maths, we still need many tens of $millions more and certainty around that now.
Adding to the urgency, concerns about fires.
We will have a much higher fuel load than we've had up here for a long, long time. Yes, there's a lot of trees missing, but there's a lot of trees lying on the ground, which makes it even worse.
The community begging for help before the season starts.
There's a lot of angst around the community because of the debris laying on the ground.
One arborist estimates the debris from the June storms could fill the MCG. It's why the council says it can't do a job this big on its own.
Do we stop the recovery or do we cut back on services for the greater municipality?
In a statement to 7 News, the state government said it was working closely with local communities and additional support will be announced soon. Estelle Greeping, 7 News.
A week after the tough vaccine mandate for all authorised workers was announced, the Victorian government's conceded some workers are exempt. They include judges, coroners, lawyers and any other Commonwealth and court-related staff. Meanwhile, they've announced plans to ban elected representatives from Parliament who don't declare their medical status.
We've opposed these vaccine mandates upon the population. Now the government's trying this effectively a power grab in the upper house.
Mr Limbrick says while he is fully vaccinated, he won't comply. COVID vaccine booster shots will be rolled out from Monday with severely immunocompromised Victorians at the front of the queue. The Health Minister also says Pfizer supply won't be an issue if and when it's approved for 5 to 11-year-olds.
As soon as there is an application, an approval and a recommendation from Pfizer, the TGA and the TARGI respectively, we can commence immediately.
Pfizer has officially asked US regulators for emergency approval for young children. The Queen's Baton Relay has begun its journey to Birmingham ahead of next year's Commonwealth Games. Organisers are confident the stadiums will be filled to capacity with vaccinated spectators from around the world.
The biggest Buckingham Palace event since the pandemic began. Hope delivered by a beaming Queen, Her Majesty's message to the Commonwealth sealed inside the baton to be read at the opening ceremony of the Games in July.
To me, this is the start of Birmingham 2022.
But first, a 140,000-kilometre journey started by British Paralympian Kadina Cox.
It felt really special. I was able to get the baton from the Queen, have a little chat with her, which is really nice.
Over the next 294 days, the relay will travel through all 72 nations and territories of the Commonwealth. The first overseas stop is Cyprus this weekend. The baton heads to Australia for 4 days in March. After the successful Gold Coast Games, Birmingham will be different, featuring the biggest parasport program in history and, for the first time, more women's medal events than men's. Despite the challenges of the past 18 months, organisers are confident of packing stadiums.
And we're working with the government to make sure that all the countries, all our 72 countries, will have the chance to come in being fully vaccinated.
There's a picture of me from Tokyo where I'm waving and someone said, "Who are you waving to?" And I was like, "Oh no, there was no one there." But it'd be great, just to be able to, have that support and be able to do a victory lap with people around you.
In London, Sarah Greenhalgh, 7 News.
Still overseas, Tokyo has been shaken by its strongest earthquake since the disaster in 2011 that sparked a tsunami and nuclear incident. The 5.9 magnitude quake struck last night, injuring at least 20 people. No tsunami warnings were issued, but experts are predicting another quake of similar intensity in the next few days. And space tourists are being offered the chance to float into the stratosphere in a zero-pressure balloon. It's billed as a much quieter ride than a spaceship and also much cheaper, less than $70,000. One of the world's biggest stars is back on centre stage after a 5-year break from the public view. Adele has new music, a new look, and is opening up about her dramatic weight loss.
Adele as you've never seen her before.
Hello, it's me.
One of the world's biggest stars is back, speaking publicly for the first time in 5 years for Vogue. It's the first time the star has spoken about her shock 45-kilogram weight loss and the backlash it's drawn. She says she works out to help her anxiety, saying it was never about losing weight. The 33-year-old also speaks of her divorce from her husband, Simon Konecki, and the effects on their son, saying it's a wound she may never be able to heal. But Adele's millions of fans couldn't be happier. Confirmation the star's long-awaited 4th studio album, 30, is out next week. Rumour has it, it may be her best yet. Hope Wilson, 7 News.
Changes are coming to the New South Wales-Victoria border patrols. Next, it will free up hundreds of police to be back on city streets. Also, new moves to deal with head knocks on the sporting field. A Melbourne woman's extraordinary swim across the English Channel, and she's not done yet. And our Olympians celebrate their Tokyo triumphs. Melbourne parents have been given a temporary reprieve on childcare fees after the Chief Medical Officer announced a last-minute extension of Victoria's hotspot status. The extension means gap fees will continue to be waived for at least another week, but families could face full fees from mid-October. Police are scaling back their operations on the New South Wales border. The first of 300 officers will start leaving in the next few days, and by Tuesday the dedicated operation will cease. The decision leaves local police to enforce the remaining border permit rules. The brains of Australian athletes are about to go under the microscope. Dozens of elite sports people will be part of a new way of studying the impacts of repeated concussions. And it's not just limited to contact sports.
Rugby league legend Ray Price was known for his hard, intimidating style of play during the rough old days of the 1970s and 80s.
You can't be any worse than what it was when I was playing. It was just pathetic. They would let people belt people for just the sake of getting the game on.
Considered safer now, but concussions still claimed the careers of NRL stars Boyd Cordner and Jake Friend this year. Now the federal government is putting $340,000 behind the Concussion and Brain Health Project to reduce brain injuries sustained in sport.
Whether there are risk factors and what those risk factors are, whether we can identify individuals who are more susceptible to having difficulties later down the track.
Researchers from the universities of Newcastle and Canberra will analyse the brains of dozens of retired elite athletes, having already identified neurodegenerative disease CTE in NRL and AFL players. They'll also examine athletes from non-contact sports, including our Olympic swimmers.
What you want to know is the picture we're getting different from what we would see in people who have never been concussed.
The study is set to get underway this year, with the findings to be published by 2024. But researchers are already hoping this encourages more sporting codes to introduce stricter concussion protocols.
So that when they have those symptoms, they are being removed from the game.
Amber Laidler, 7 News.
Not even the Prime Minister could avoid technical difficulties as members of his new ministry were sworn in today. MPs were unable to take their oaths when the audio cut out. The Governor-General ended up walking out of the room while computers were restarted, eventually returning 20 minutes later to finish the ceremony. Melbourne's endurance swim champ Chloe McArdle has now equalled the record for the number of successful crossings of the English Channel. She's done it 43 times. Now she's aiming to break the record by getting back in the water on Sunday.
Her feet finally on French soil again. Chloe McArdle's name is etched into the record books. Elation. Yay! After a tough swim.
Yeah, a few dramas. I got smashed by a wave at the start, lost my goggles, had to do backstroke till we could find replacements, so that was a bit interesting.
It began in the dark, a lonely way to swim, but as the sun rose across the English Channel, so did the will to keep on going. There were stops every half an hour for an energy drink. During a gruelling night that became day, just short of 11 hours in the water. But the result, so sweet. The Aussie now level pegging with Englishwoman Alison Streeter, 43 crossings each.
Well, the funny thing is, I was never intending to go after this record. Ended up with all these crossings, and I'm like, wow, at one point I'm halfway to the world record, so why don't I just give it a go?
Usually it's just Chloe up against herself out here in the Channel, but as the days go by, she's up against the conditions as well. The weather is only going to get worse, so she's planning to back up in just over 48 hours' time to smash that record.
we can get the job done and bring the record home to Australia for the first time in 40 years.
A record that will be tough to beat, now within her grasp. In the English Channel, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Good luck to you, Chloe. A bottlenose dolphin has put on a show after becoming stuck in an inlet at an Adelaide beach. Authorities believe she was chasing fish during high tide.
It's been putting on a bit of a performance, actually, jumping out of the water, swimming around, making a few different noises.
It's expected she'll swim away when the tide rises again. Our Tokyo Olympians and Paralympians have been celebrated in Brisbane, given the keys to the 2032 host city today. Ariana Titmus has started plotting her path to Paris in the pool this week.
I've had my first nap this week in 2 months. I'm pretty exhausted and I've done the kilometres in this week that I usually do in 1 day.
Sailing great Matt Belcher is lapping up the party too.
At the moment, I'm actually just really enjoying being at home and being with my wife and kids and friends and family.
The celebrations were just for the Queensland-based athletes. Sport is next with Tim Watson, and Tim, the Cats are backing Chris Scott in.
They are, Mitch, well and truly. He's poised to re-sign on a multi-year big money deal. We'll have the details next, plus our exclusive chat with Sam Mitchell on Jeff Kennett's bold trade declaration. Our record-breaking Socceroos move a step closer to next year's World Cup. The former Aussie rules player who left American sport fans gobsmacked. And great Scott, Andy Murray's call out for help to find his lost wedding ring. Welcome back. New Hawks coach Sam Mitchell has stopped short of guaranteeing all his star players will remain at the club. Returning to Mitch Cleary, Mitch, you spoke exclusively to Mitchell, who's bracing for a hectic next few days.
Tim, rival clubs believe Sam Mitchell and the Hawks will be willing to part with one of their guaranteed guns for next year. The new coach even training alongside his star Brownlow medalist in a busy day today at club headquarters. Sam Mitchell side by side with his Hawthorn stars, but will one be traded into 2022?
Every phone call that you get from another club in those types of discussions, the club takes, of course.
The football world abuzz at the thought of contracted guns Jack Gunston, Tom Mitchell, Chad Wingard or Jager O'Meara being moved on for an early pick to fast-track the club's rebuild, sparked by an email from Jeff Kennett bracing members for the possibility of a big-name departure this off-season.
Jeff can be a little bit unpredictable, can't he, to say the least.
Mitchell has been speaking to other clubs, exploring how the Hawks can improve their stocks for the draft.
Have you spoken to Sam Mitchell in the last 48 hours?
I'm about the only one who hasn't.
But he's quick to deny he's driving any players out.
My conversations certainly were not specific with any of the coaches from any other clubs.
The players too committing their futures to the club.
I think it's just speculation, so very happy here. And I think, it's just speculation, so no truth to it at all.
And Wingard using a line from a Hollywood movie to suggest he's not leaving, but the Hawk stars may need to keep their phones nearby over the weekend.
There's been no conversations with other clubs about those guys that has got to any sort of level that's worth even talking to the players about it. If there's anything of substance, I will be on the phone straight away.
In other contract news, Geelong coach Chris Scott has had a 2-year extension on the table for some time, and it's believed he's closing in on signing that in the next few days. That'll take his deal from 2022 all the way into 2024, ending any conjecture on him departing the club. And in a trade finalised late today, North Melbourne has secured Callum Coleman-Jones, the young, exciting ruck forward from Richmond, in exchange for a complicated pick swap that sees Robbie Tarrant move from Arden Street across town to Punt Road. Tim?
Thanks, Mitch. Former Hawk Tim O'Brien says he's excited to put his stamp on the Bulldogs. O'Brien was sounded out by Port Adelaide but opted to sign a 2-year deal with the Dogs to reunite with Luke Beveridge, who coached him as an assistant at Hawthorn.
The role that he's looking for me to play is across half-back, which is exciting because that's a role I think suits me and my attributes best.
Ruckman Jordan Sweet has also signed a new deal until 2023. The Ashes are set to get the green light later tonight, with England players expected to officially agree to quarantine touring rules. The Aussie women are also breathing a sigh of relief after rain halted India's batting blitz in last night's T20. Both teams scored a point with 2 T20s left in the multi-format series. The Socceroos are the first team in World Cup history to win 11 straight qualifying matches. They broke the record shared by powerhouses Germany, Spain and Mexico with this morning's 3-1 victory over Oman in Doha. 10 of the 11 wins have come away from home.
Going to Japan and getting ready for Japan in Japan and making it 12 in a row.
That game is next Tuesday night with 7 qualifiers left on the road to Qatar. Incredible scenes outside the home of Newcastle United as fans gathered to celebrate the takeover of the English Premier League team by a lucrative Saudi-backed consortium. It ends billionaire Mike Ashley's 14-year reign. The retail tycoon is blamed for presiding over one of the least successful periods in the club's history. Tennis star Andy Murray has made a desperate plea to have his wedding ring returned after it was stolen as he prepared to compete at Indian Wells tournament in California. Murray left his ring tied to his shoes while airing them out overnight.
Needless to say, I'm in the bad books at home. So I want to try and find it.
He's urged fans to share his message to help recover the ring. American sport fans have been left gobsmacked by a quick-thinking Aussie. Former Swans Academy-listed player Michael Dixon produced this incredible play in the NFL.
Blocked off the foot of Dixon, and Dixon now kicks it. Well, that's coming back. That's coming back as this goes down.
Even the commentators thought Dixon's kick broke the rules, but the play stood as his Seattle Seahawks went down to the LA Rams. Mitch, that was incredible. The instinct just kicked in.
Yeah, well, that's just play on, isn't it?
In our game it is, but they spent about 10 minutes trying to work out exactly what happened and what the rule would be.
And they said it was legal.
Legal, yeah, well done.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tim. Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, how is the weekend looking?
Well, Mitch, it is warm on Saturday, then cold on Sunday, but it does look dry for much of the time. The full details are next. Hello again. We're having a pleasant end to the week with lots of sunshine. It reached 21 in the city and tomorrow rises even higher. We'll stay dry until a change on Saturday night. After early fog patches, there's just wispy high cloud over Victoria, letting lots of sun shine through. The southwest had a bit of cumulus this afternoon, but that doesn't bring any rain. The pleasant weather is thanks to a large high, but a cold front is approaching with another one close in behind it. The first front will slow down as it crosses southwestern Victoria tomorrow. Now, as it slows, we feel a cool change and there's a band of rain. Low totals from this one, generally up to 5 millimetres. Then that second front brings cold air and showers to the south, along with wintry hail and alpine snow. This is how it looks in Melbourne. Don't expect rain all weekend. Saturday is great. We're warm and quite sunny. It stays dry all through the day. On Saturday night, it turns cold and wet, lasting to just before dawn on Sunday. But during the day on Sunday, there's hit and miss showers with long dry breaks, including sunshine. So if you add up all the daylight hours, it is dry for about 80% of the time this weekend. Around the nation tomorrow, Brisbane sunny and 29, Sydney mostly sunny, hazy and 26, Canberra mostly sunny, 24, Hobart local showers just in the morning, otherwise it's dry and 18. Adelaide reaches 21, that's before a cool change with showers, they hit in the late afternoon and evening. Perth is dry and 20. To Victoria, where it is warm and sunny, it reaches 25 in Bairnsdale, 26 in Yarrawonga. Mildura is 32 degrees. Showers develop over the southwest in the afternoon. That's after the cool change in the morning, so it's only 19 in Warrnambool. That front is slow moving. At night, showers extend to the northwest of the state through to western parts of Gippsland, and then it tends to persistent but light rain. Closer in, let's start with the day tomorrow where it's lovely. There is lots of sunshine and it warms up in a breezy northwesterly wind, 24 in a few suburbs. Get your outside activities in before 6 p.m. because temperatures will rapidly plummet after this and the blue shows all those showers passing through. So it's dry all day, warm and quite sunny. The city's about 23. Then after 6 p.m. it turns cold and showery. To the 8-day outlook, a rain will clear by dawn on Sunday, so the day has long dry breaks and there's sunshine in those breaks, but there is the odd shower passing through and it is cold. It's a top of only 15. On Monday, drizzle early, then we turn dry during the day, a fair bit of cloud though. Tuesday's the next nice day, 20 with sunshine, 21 with sunshine on Wednesday, a late change. This does bring the risk of some big thunderstorms on Wednesday night and of some wet weather to end the week. So 23 tomorrow, it's a warm and mostly sunny day. Then it does turn cold and wet at night, Mitch, but we've got just the odd shower rolling through on Sunday.
23, then 15.
Yes.
That's so Melbourne, isn't it?
It is so Melbourne. It's Melbourne in spring, and then we'll do it again next week, up and then down.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much indeed, Jane. And that's the way it is this Friday, the 8th of October. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.